first of all, I welcome you to this media school, and I'm Professor Himmat Singh Jadeja. I'll be teaching you creative writing for your first semester. So today's lesson plan is what is creativity, what is creation, how it is different from regular approach. That has to be understood first. And then there are parameters required for creative writing. So that I'm going to brief you today. So we begin with creative. The word creative conveys what? Or what is creativity? Creativity is something which is little different than regular. Now, creativity is required in every field, starting from a lab to a farmer's field. Unless you go in for some kind of experiments, you cannot achieve something good, something better. So that's why we talk about the requirement of the labs. Here we have to experiment as far as creative writing is concerned with our own writing. Everyone writes stories, articles, features, radio plays. And here I'd like to tell you that when we talk about creativity, in writing, creativity is you are breaking the rules and trying to do something but maintaining all required parameters. That is creative. Now, people have been writing from quite some time, but the involvement of creativity came in when the poetry writing came into exercise of being. And there people kept on experimenting with various thoughts. And then creativity is linked now very positively, or it is a tag, as far as marketing is concerned. So we require plenty of copywriters in each and every field. And their work is to write something which is liked, appreciated, and same time it is different from the regular one. So the word creative or creativity is when you try to break the rules within the parameters and come with new ideas. Now when we talk about new ideas, we talk in terms of writing. For example, I'll give you a very simple one. You are writing letter to your father. Respected Dad, I hope you are well. Everybody at home is well, something. Now if you start with something different than the regular one, then you might write, I hope you are in pink of your health. Now this is different from the regular. So here comes the creation. You have thought of using something else. That is creativity. And for creativity, you have to have vocabulary as far as the creative writing is concerned. Vocabulary is most important. And if you're writing in Hindi, then you should have knowledge of Hindi words, Urdu words, because in kind of a bolchal ki language we call in India. So you have English words also, Hindi words also, and Urdu words also. So I will advise you to learn 3 words a day. 1 word of English, 1 Urdu and 1 Hindi. And the words which you don't know. What you know, you need not try it again. But you have to search, think, and get some new words in your vocabulary. You can be a writer, but when you want to be a creative writer, you got to have substitutes for words. If I say, give me a substitute for Allah, then you'll give me God, Almighty, Rabb. So these are the words having the same meaning and sense, but little different. So in creative writing, you have to think about whom are you addressing, what are you addressing, and why are you addressing. These three things are very important. Unless you know your clientele or readership, what age they are, it is very important. You cannot write some kind of language which is understood by not the young children. You have to be little different in your approach and still creative. I'll give you some examples for creative writing. And the first is, as I told you earlier, that you have to think about your clientele. You have to think what audience you're going to talk to or addressing to. That has to be very definite in your mind. And then you have to think of what kind of words you're going to pick. If you had something, to say school children, then you have to be altogether different. And if it's university and college, then different. And if we talk about masses, then it is different. But here I come with that the line must make a sense, and which has to be remembered, by people. When I'm talking about one-line ads, print ads, or even hoarding for that matter, one line which you've written, it requires the help of visuals also. So when you have a visual, like, I'll give you an example of golf course, and you have a bench, and it is autumn, and one person is sitting of my age kind. He is just relaxing with a stick in his hand of golf. And in another case, you have a young person, say about 25, 30, sitting on the bench, sit situation. Now, what kind of a line you are going to have for these two different characters? That matters. If the agency says you have to write keeping 25 to 30 age between person, so then you will write something little different than what line you will create for the old man sitting on the bench. Now here, I remember of one line. I went to O&M's office, say a couple of years back. My friend Piyush Pandey is the CEO of O&M. So I was sitting in his office, and somebody called him up in his office and said, Piyush, I want one line immediately. So he said, I'm busy at the moment. Okay, fine, I'll give you in the evening. Tell me the concept. So on telephone he must have briefed. And then again he was busy with work. He gave him time of 5 o'clock. At 4:30 he decided that I have to give that line to his friend. So he was quite concentrated for about 20 minutes. And he came up with the line, "It is autumn, where are you?" That's all. And one line was appreciated by the masses. It was for print media as well as for hoardings. So it makes a sense. I'll give you an example in Hindi. In some situation, you know, you have a girlfriend and she's in tears. So आप हिंदी में बोलते हैं कि तुमने आंखों से आंसू बहा के मुझे इमोशनल बना दिया. This is one way of saying. Now it is quite normal way. There is no creativity in it. Now when we talk again in terms of creativity, think of this line. तुमने तो अपनी आंखों से मोती बरसा दिए, मैं भीग भीग गया. तुमने तो अपनी आंखों से मोती बरसा दिए, मैं भीग भीग गया. Now this is creativity. It is quite different from the regular what you see or you hear, and that is creativity, right? And creativity is in each and every field, as I mentioned you earlier. Also, it could be field of agriculture, it could be hotel, catering and cooking and whatnot. So every person is experimenting with his skills, whatever skill he has. And that matters a lot. Because when you experiment with, definitely you'll come with some new results. And everybody likes new results. I'll tell you something. Let's talk about egg. That you go to regular restaurant, ask for कैसा प्रिपरेशन है आपका संडे का. बोलेगा बॉइल्ड है सर, फ्राइड है, हाफ फ्राइड है, ऑमलेट है, पोर्च एग है. But you go to Gujarat, those thadiwala people are having 50 kind of varieties and made to order kind. They don't keep ready. They'll show you the photograph. You decide on and they'll prepare and serve you. So when you eat something which you have not had earlier of same, kind of egg preparation, and then you say this is something, yes, very creative. So creativity is everywhere. We require creative for any progressive world. Now, in creativity, what you have to keep in mind, as I mentioned to you earlier, vocabulary. And prior to it is originality. You should be original in your approach of writing anything, any kind of writing. Could be article, could be story, short story. That you have to keep in mind. Second thing, we'll talk about originality further. I'll first tell you points. Second is imagination. You have to be imaginative. And imagination is a very important aspect of one's, kind of a profession he's into. If you don't have new ideas to offer, then you become quite stale. And your management, your boss, everybody requires something new and some new imagination, some change. Let's break the rules and do something. That kind of approach. So you got to have that kind of approach. But again, keeping all parameters in mind. That's very important. Then we talk about originality. I've talked to you. Imagination, I've talked to you. Vocabulary, I did mention earlier. Vocabulary is very important. And without that, you can never be a good speaker. You can never be a good writer. When you hear some real brilliant people having full confidence in their, writing or speaking, so you want to listen to them for hours together, because whenever they come out with some word, it is like something new which you relish. At times you may have to consult dictionary that he spoke one word, what was that word? And good speakers will always keep on using new words. So there's a great importance of vocabulary. And vocabulary in all three languages, English, Hindi and Urdu. Because when you go for creative writing, you cannot just say that I will be only writing in English. People do it and they prefer one language. But the versatile creative writers, they can write a copy, they can write a ad film, they can write a feature, they can write a radio talk. So they are versatile. So I mean, people having knowledge of English, Hindi and Urdu, now it becomes very important for them to know the, I mean, words which you don't know actually during the process of your, I mean, academic, when you are doing your graduation or whatever it is. You have to keep in mind that you have to learn 3 words a day. 1 word is good enough. Because if you see in a span of 1 year, how many new words you're going to learn. And you require the substitution of particular word. At might you get struck completely. You don't know what is the second word I can use here. So, if you decide to learn a new word every day, I'm sure you will have the complete vocabulary within a couple of years. It will take, yes, when I say years, because I'm telling you only to learn 3 words. Learning words is knowing the meaning, literal meaning of it, and spelling, and same time pronunciation. Pronunciation is very important when you speak. All speakers you must have heard of, great orators. Their speech was very clear and they maintained the clarity while speaking. And they'll often come with typical words, It could be Hindi, Urdu or English. So that has to be taken into consideration. And same is a requirement for the writing also. Vocabulary is very important and we have to give full time to vocabulary. Now when I talk about speeches, speaking, oratory, one thing is very important. People hardly try to understand that, and that is the value of phonetics. Now, what is value of phonetics? It is the sound of word which has to be announced properly. That is very important for speeches and oratory. Right? I'll give you a word. हिंदी की बात करते हैं हम. माँ. दूसरा वर्ड बोल रहा हूँ मैं. माँ. दूसरे में बिंदी का स्वर आ रहा है. That is the right value of the word as per the phonetics. That has to be kept in mind. Right? Now we come to a very important thing in creative writing. You have to read a lot. You should be mad after reading. You have to read everything what is possible for you to grab upon, and read short stories, read articles, if you can spare time, novels. And when you read them and then you compare them with other writers you've read, then you'll come to know that which is close to you and why. Because that is real creativity in which that particular short story is being written, and you read a short story of a different writer, but then you realize that you like that story quite a lot because the writer is different, and this you couldn't find in this particular story. So this kind of a comparison will make you learn and understand the flair you require for your writing. So that is very important. You should read paper every day. You have to make it a point, and it is a religion for you, that every morning you'll read paper, and when you read papers you'll have to decide which paper should you read. For English people mostly like Hindu or Times of India, and especially or even Indian Express. And people love to read the articles than of news, because articles make a sense. In news you will see headlines, whatever interest you have interest in sports, then you will read about sports. You have some, inclination towards politics, then you will go in for the political news. But you have to spare time, and during your first year to third year, make it a point that I don't have time in the morning when I come for my classes here in university. Fair enough. When you go back home, make it a point that there is a paper for you which came in the morning. Your father and mother and everybody has read it, and it is now for you. And you must read each aspect of that paper. That is very important. Now it is quite lengthy also. At times you'll get completely bored. Then what is point reading all this crap? But no, it is going to make sense when you realize that what are you learning from this? What new words you come across, and which is important. That's why people read the articles. If you want to have command over your writing or your speech, you will have to read such articles by great, great authors. And you have to decide after some time that who is your favorite writer. You love to read him. You have to make a definite question to yourself. Why? Why I am reading a particular writer? Why I like him? What are his qualities? So these are the assessment which you have to analyze. And the last here is thought process. Very important aspect of creative writing is the thought process. While thinking, you create a story out of nowhere. That is your creativity, which will come to you not tomorrow. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, and for some, maybe 3 years. But then you are dedicated, and you have made it a point, happen may what, I have to excel in this line of creative writing. Then you devote more time and read, and then think about story, about situation, about any problem of the country. How can you contribute? And your contribution is through your writing. How your writing can impress people. And you will have to learn one more thing, that instead of writing one full page, you will just write 3 lines that communicates, and that is a perfect kind of a exchange of thoughts with people you want. So I have told you today the 5 major points, and we discuss about the definition of creativity, that it is, new ideas, changing the old ones for betterment, for progress. So tomorrow again we'll take up second lesson. Thank you so much.